Benvenuti a tutti.
Benvenuti in Italia.
Welcome, everyone. We are quite obviously in Florence. Behind us here is the Duomo. This is not a green screen.
We are so excited about this after our Italy show with the green screen and everything. This is the terrace of the Airbnb where we are staying. We are looking at location. We are just hundreds of feet away from the Duomo, as you can see. I'm just going to point it up there so you can see the whole thing. How cool is that? Isn't it, Donna? You're right.
It is, Donna. Totally.
This whole place is gorgeous. You don't need us to tell you that Firenze is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. We're so glad you're able to join us, and we're so glad we're able to broadcast from here. As you saw in the chat, a word of warning, we are using what they call pocket Wi-Fi, which means it's kind of attached to a cell phone signal. It's what they gave us here at Airbnb. We don't know if it's enough to broadcast, so we're seeing lots of... We are looking at our signal strength, and it kind of goes, well, we don't know if we're going to broadcast or anything. So what I will tell you is if anything just kind of shuts down completely, just be patient and refresh your screen on whatever, if you're watching on a Facebook or if you're watching it on YouTube, wherever. What will probably happen is if we go dark, we will come back. So don't leave us. Just hang out and be with us.
It is very dark. It's true. It is 10 p.m. here. We have one little spotlight shining on us from inside the house. We're out on the terrace right now. And as you can see, we have a beautiful real backdrop as opposed to a green screen. And so hopefully that's okay for all of you who are watching us. You'll just see little bits of skin here and there, and you'll hear lots of music, and that's the important part. So there you have it.
Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We are so glad to be here. We're going to start by telling you a little bit about, do we want to start with music, or do we want to start by sort of explaining? Well, you know what? I'm going to start by sort of reminding you of where we were. Last time we saw you, we were in Hamburg, Germany. We spent a few days there, and then we moved on to Italy. So the first piece that we actually have, we chose it for a couple of reasons. We're always trying to think about our programming and what's going to fit and all that sort of thing. So you see the beautiful Duomo. It's hard to look at such an exquisite space like this and not think of beautiful church music. So we chose a beautiful church music piece, but we chose a German composer to connect with the places that we had been up until a few days ago. Indeed. So what we've chosen is something by the amazing artist, mystic, abbess, polymath, and just unbelievable sounding human being, Hildegard von Bingen. Oh, do we need to tell the story about trying to get to Hildegard's place?
I think we told you this story before, but we're going to tell it to you again because it's a lot of fun, you know, when you're going to a place of medieval beauty, but you're using GPS.
So this was back in the days before Google Maps. This was 2006, and we were in Germany. We decided to take a drive down the Rhine. And one of the places that you swing by when you go down there is Bingen, as in Hildegard von Bingen, and her monastery is still there. So we thought, won't it be great to go check out the monastery? And so we had, remember the Garmin things you used to put in your car before GPS? So we had this Garmin.
Good, well done.
Yeah.
Well done, sir. Yeah, I forgot that name.
And the Garmin, just for fun, we decided to leave her in German. Now, we can understand rechts and links well enough to know if we're going right or left when we're turning. So that part was just fine.
That was fun, yeah. So we decided it would be really fun. Oh, yeah, we're going to keep it in the original language from where we had rented this car. And it got a little confusing after a while because, you know, you can follow the kilometers and such. So we get to Bingen, so Hildegard von Bingen, Hildegard of Bingen, this beautiful little place. And we get to where we think her house should be, but then the directions, the lady of the directions, she basically says, you are here. And we were in the middle of a vineyard. We thought,
we're in the middle of a field.
That made no sense. And, you know, so we turned the car a little bit, and then it said, go another 1,000 meters, kind of going in a bit of a circle or a bit of a square.
She took us back into the town of Bingen.
Oh my gosh,
and back up around a hill, and she said, you are here. And we said, no, we're not.
We're in a vineyard again.
And we did it a third time. So early in the days of GPS, and it turned out that the monastery of Bingen was about 1,000 feet that way. but she didn't quite know that.
She didn't get it. It's okay. We understand, these are remote locations, and Google can't always find such things, and Garmin can't find these things. But it was a lot of fun. We went around and around and around in circular fashion. So maybe we were just connecting with the world of rounds and cannons and catches of an old time.
Let's say that's what it was.
I'm going to say that that's what it was, yes.
All right, so this piece, when we have done it recently, it's a medieval piece from Hildegard von Bingen from, I believe, the 14th century. And we decided that we would do it as a loop station piece. Of course, we're not doing it with a loop station this time, so we're going back old school. So you're going to hear this old school 13th, 14th century style.
That's
with
right.
the Duomo in the background, Hildegard von Bingen, and this is O Virtus Sapientiae. Virtus Sapientiae, quae circumquiens circuisti, comprendent omnia in una via, quae habet vitam, tres alas habens, quarum una in altum volat, et altera de terra sudat, et tertia undique volat, laus tibi sit sicut te decet, o sapientia. Virtus Sapientiae, quae circuiens circuisti, comprehendent omnia in una via, quae habet vitam, tres alas habens, quarum una in altum volat, et altera de terra sudat, et tertia undique volat, laus tibi sit sicut te decet, o sapientia.
Ah, Hildegard. Yes, Joyce, absolutely right. Perfect background for this. History indeed. So, combining the old with slightly newer and then giving our own spin on it, making it a little more modern. So, medieval to modern, that's part of what we're doing today. And and yeah, this background is just very, very inspiring.
And one thing we love about Europe is medieval to modern. So you are seeing this beautiful 500, 600, 700, 800-year-old architecture, and then a Vespa's going by, and then there's somebody yelling about his cappuccino, and then there's another thing going by. Drivers here are crazy in Florence. And it's just a fantastic sort of dichotomy that you see of this beautiful history, and then you might even be able to hear the party goers on the street.
Yes.
A couple of stories down from where we
All
are.
right. I just heard some Prosecco being...
Hey, we got some neighbors over
did
there.
you hear the
having-
pop? That's what that was. Yes, our neighbors are having some drinks, and they're going to be serenaded by us.
Beautiful.
They had no idea, but there you go. Surprise.
We're going to remind you that because we're doing this as more of an open format show, if you have questions, please throw them in the chat. We have more bandwidth now because we're not pressing buttons and doing complicated things. That if you have questions about what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it, any tips from the road or anything like that, we are, of course, happy to share them. And we'll be sharing some of these stories. So, we last left you in Hamburg, and that was last Friday night.
Yes.
And so, what did we do after that? Oh, Snyder guy is asking us, Rob is asking, speaking of cappuccinos, how are you two coffee lovers enjoying Italy coffee?
Yes.
I adored my coffee when I was there, and that was before I was a coffee snob.
Understood. Yeah.
If-
Same for us, really. I think, well, maybe we were coffee snobs even back
We
when
were
we
coffee
first
snobs.
when we first started touring in Europe. Coffee is wonderful here. You really can't go wrong, and you want to do it in the right way. So, for example, you can do what we normally do. That's
Just
amazing.
looking at Uli's remark over there about Suba's hair. That's
I
awesome.
have no hair.
So-
I'm a floating head. Yeah, so, you can do what we normally do in North America, where we order a coffee and it comes to your table and you sip it and you have a conversation, and that's all fine and dandy, and that is fine here too. However, there's also kind of the origin of espresso. And so espresso, you have it as a sort of express, and you often drink it standing up at the counter, like almost like the bartender's counter where they serve you. And it's great because it means that your coffee is even cheaper than it would be if you were sitting down.
Turns out there's a fun little story about this. It goes
Yes.
back to, I believe, the turn of the 20th century when they started adding a tax for when you sat down and drank your coffee. It
Right.
cost you more. So in order to get by the tax, coffee sellers and coffee drinkers would just drink it right at the bar. So you make it, you drink it, you go. And that allowed them to bypass this tax, basically the sitting tax. So it's cheaper that way. And the great thing about Italy is that the standard and the expectation for coffee is so high that you can go to a train station and find a coffee seller in a train station. It's going to be excellent. You can get coffee out of a machine, and it's excellent.
Yeah, it's bizarre, but true. You can get pocket coffee. So Ferrero, as in Ferrero Rocher, like the chocolate, they also make liquid-centered chocolate. So, and the liquid center is actually real espresso. And they call it coffee to go, or they call it pocket coffee, and it's like little individually wrapped chocolates that are packed with a huge caffeinated punch. And that's tons of fun if you need a little coffee on the go. So you can get coffee in all forms around here, and we have not yet been disappointed in Italy. I don't think on any of the trips that we've taken.
I don't think so. And this is our third trip to Florence.
That's
So
right.
going back to Alistair was just asking if we were going to the Uffizi. Alistair, we went to, great to see you.
Yes.
And we went to the Uffizi last time we were here. So this time we'll walk you through sort of what we've been doing. But a lot of it actually has been not indoors. And part of that is just COVID times. Part of that is because the weather's quite nice here, so we're just enjoying walking. But taking us back to Friday, we were in Hamburg, and on
Yes.
Saturday we did some workshops with our dear friend Ramon Lazzaroni, and we did 2 workshops. It was a busy work day, and we kind of zoomed in and out of Hamburg. So we came in the day before, set up, did our show for you folks. And then the next morning we got up early and we did 2 workshops with each of his choirs. In between we had a nice lunch in an Italian restaurant in Hamburg. And then we had to sort of be rock stars and jump on a train. We felt like politicians actually going and making whistle stops in different places and then having to run
That's
off.
right. Wave, shake hands, bye.
Because we did a wonderful workshop with both of Ramon's choirs, and then we had to say, we gotta run and catch a train. So we ran off, and he took us to the Hamburg Hauptbahnhof, and we took a couple of trains to get us to Limburg Süd, and that's where we got picked up by Uli. And Uli is watching today. His name
Yes.
is Ulrich Diel. You'll see his name And
Hi,
there,
Uli. Hi, Helga.
Uli and us go back to about 2006. We figured out over
Yes.
some single malt scotches the night that he picked us up. We've known each other for quite some time, back from the Cadence days. He used to travel to see Cadence. We actually performed in Munich, and he drove all the way from Bad Comburg to Munich to come
Yes.
see us back in 2006.
Amazing supporter.
We had a wonderful night drinking scotch, catching up. It had been about 5 years since we'd seen each other.
That's so crazy.
I had a great time. And then Sunday, we started working with Uli's choirs. But you remember, we were talking about some of our health challenges. We said we hit the road and the road hit back. So on Saturday night and Sunday morning, Suba, how were you feeling?
Oh, it was weird. My glands were on fire. It was one of those nights, I think we had a few dry places, like very, very dry places that we were staying, not nearly enough humidity or steam or anything like that. And so I wasn't feeling so good overnight and kind of just before the workshops. But I got better as soon as those workshops started. I think part of that is just, when you put the blinders on, we're like this as musicians, whether we're going to the stage or we're going to teach a workshop. The energy starts to flow, and it sort of doesn't matter how you feel. You do whatever is the task at hand, and
you
do it with your whole heart. And things generally, I should knock on things. I've got plastic things to knock on here. Generally things end up working out. So yeah, I had a weird, so that whatever was the stomach flu then morphed into something more like your generic cold or allergies or something. Like I'm kind of thinking it's allergies because it's lasted for a little bit of time. It's been kind of low grade, but there you have it.
It's been interesting. One of the things we've realized, and this is a little travel advice for anybody who's planning on going traveling. We forgot how hard traveling is on the system. We did
So
mention this
true.
last week, and I think the other thing is because we have all been holed up in our little hidey holes for the past 18 months. You used to hear those stories about kids who would wash their hands with with antimicrobial soap, and they'd never be allowed to go play in the playground or get dirty or play in the mud. And then those kids never had a strong immune system. And we're feeling like because we've been so protective and so isolated, we have not been exposed to other types of viruses, not just COVID, but everything.
It's true.
And so I think our immune systems are a little bit more sensitive than they typically are. And traveling, of course, is hard work on the immune system between changing places, seeing more people, all that sort of thing. So we're finding that a little bit of a challenge. So Sunday we worked with Uli, and we worked with his group. That we had a nice lunch in Idstein, and then Uli was kind enough to drop us off to the airport, and we flew to Venice.
Yes. And normally we don't fly in Europe, but the trains were full. The ones that we wanted were full, so we couldn't take the trains that we wanted to take. We were going to do the epic overnight train, which we've done a couple of times before in different parts of Europe. So we decided, okay, well, we'll take a flight, and it was actually pretty cheap, and that all worked out well. Not too many people at that airport, which is bizarre to say that for the Frankfurt airport.
Joyce was asking about the COVID situation in Italy, and it kind of leads to a slightly humorous story. The situation here seems to be pretty good, but because they got hit so hard so early, they are on the spectrum of more careful and less careful. We found that the Dutch seem to be feeling the most free, and Italy and France are feeling still the most strict about things.
Yes.
Now we say that according to what their protocols are, but here's the thing. So when we were flying, every time you fly to a new country now, you have to look, what's the COVID protocol, what documents do you have to sign, what passenger locator forms so they can catch you for contact tracing if they need to, what types of documentation do you have. So we've got all this stuff worked out because Italy's things are slightly different. And we get to the airport in Germany, and we're prepared to show all this documentation before we get on the flight. And the Germans say, that's Italy's problem. They want to ask about these things, they'll ask. And so we figured, okay, we're going to go through a bunch of routines once we get off the plane in Venice. We walk off the plane, we walk, and this thing we're at the water. We completely left the airport. Nobody has asked us for documentation.
Nobody's asked us anything. It was very weird.
And of course, because we're already in the EU, they don't even have a passport control. It's practically like flying domestic. But nobody even asked anything about that. We went all the way to the traghettos and the water buses, and made our way there. It was late at night at this point. We had taken a late flight. We got to our Airbnb at 1 in the morning. Well, not our Airbnb, but rather our home exchange. So we got ourselves a home exchange. It was a tiny, tiny little place, very small, but it's home exchange, so it's free. So we had free accommodations in Venice, and for that, we were very, very happy.
Pretty great.
And we sort of figured, although it was a small place and kind of a little bit dark because it's in a little alleyway kind of place, we figured, well, it's Venice. We're going to spend all our time out walking as much as we can, minus, a couple of hours of napping for immune system rebuildings and things, which was happening then, here and there.
Yeah. Well, we're basically Italians now, so, we take a good long break in the middle of the afternoon to nap. Why not?
That's right.
I'm a big nap fan, I have to say. It's a good thing. It's a healthy thing. Makes us feel good.
It's good for us. It's especially good, again, when you're traveling. And location. We were a 2-minute walk from the Rialto Bridge. So if we wanted to go home and have a little nap and go out and keep walking, well, it was really easy. We just walked out the door and we were in really good places.
Exactly. We also had a Vaporetto station, honestly, just a few paces from our door, and so the Vaporetto is the water bus, the water taxi, basically, that people use as their commute, and it's a wonderful thing. Really good timing on that transportation, so you can build your schedules and your itineraries with the boat schedule, the Vaporetto schedule, and overall a great time.
It's fantastic. We'll tell you some Venice stories in a moment, but we're going to sing something for you first.
Yes.
So the last workshop we did with Uli was our last bit of work. From here on in, it's all play. So we're very happy about it.
Yay!
So we
FreePlay.
What a free play! And so one of the things we love to do when we're working with choirs, especially, and this is especially fun with choirs from Europe, is we often teach something by rote. And we chose one of our pieces that we've been doing in our Free Play Fridays at 4 shows. And that morning over breakfast, we said, worked out some parts. This is going to be a great piece to teach by rote. So Uli and Helga, this one's for you. We hope you enjoy this one. This one's also a sing-along for you folks at home.
Yes.
This is a lovely song to sing by, especially if you need a little helping hand. You need to know your friends are out there. We've got such a wonderful community here. So this one's called Stand By Me. You all know this one. So we want you to sing along. Mm-hmm. Which one of us is going to do that? We've never done this as a duo without the loop station. So
That's
we're working
right.
this out.
Yes.
Do you want me to start with bass, or do you want to start with bass? And
I'll start with bass. You do the first verse, and then we'll move from there. We'll figure it out as we go.
All right, let's do this in B flat.
All right. 1, 2, 1, 2. Dum 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 dum.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. And darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me.
If the sky that we look upon should crumble and fall, or the mountains should tumble to the sea, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. Do, 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 darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. Whenever you're in trouble, won't you stand by me? Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. Dum 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 dum. Yes.
Thank you for singing along, everybody. Uli, glad to see you singing along.
Excellent. Uli was laying down the bass part, even in the workshop, which is awesome. And it's always fun for us as teachers, as directors, as conductors, to be able to find the songs that work really well by rote for choir. So city choir, people like Donna who are tuning in today, maybe I might bring this to city choir because it's really fun. Something we all know, feel good, lifts the spirits, and we can throw in that little instrumental medley bit in there as well.
Oh, I'm going to put this out there. I think, Mike, you might know what this is, but if you recognize what that little middle bit is, throw it in the chat. See if anybody recognizes it. It's something we thought we'd throw in just for our own fun, but let us know if you figured out what it was, anybody. So I also noticed that Britta Stegman was watching as well. Britta, we're sorry we missed you.
We
Britta
missed you.
is a part of one of Uli's choirs. Britta is a flight attendant and is zooming across the world, and every once in a while we find out that she's in Toronto and we miss her by a moment. She actually watched one of our FreePlay Fridays at 4 shows in Toronto, which was really cool.
Yes.
And great to see Vera Langer from Hamburg is watching as well.
Wonderful. I see Tomoko is back. Wonderful. Hi, Tomoko. Pat Silver is here, of course, our friend and also colleague from the Sing Festival, the Toronto Vocal Arts Festival, and yes, so we hope you're all doing well. Jane is here as well.
Awesome. Pat, I wanted to recommend that I know that the folks at Sing are working on a series of workshops and presentations that I think is starting on November 1st. Pat, if you have any information that you want to throw into the chat, I know you guys are building the program now. So if you have any information where we can find it, please throw it in the chat. Let our folks know, because you know this is the kind of group that really wants to know about it.
Absolutely.
Joyce is asking if we brought our mics or anything like that. Joyce, we're singing into our laptop. This is the lo-fi version of our show. So every once in a while you might hear some sounds from the background or anything like that.
I think you may have heard woo, 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 woo.
Well, that's my ride.
European sirens, gotta love them.
We always think we're in a Jason Bourne movie when we hear those. We feel like we should go running.
Polizei! Yeah.
Mike was asking, or he recognized the piece that we did in the middle. So if anybody is familiar with a movie that came out, I think, in the late 80s or early 90s called Mo Better Blues. It was a Spike Lee movie. The Mo Better Blues, that's the theme song from that movie. And it's just great. It's just a lovely, soulful piece.
Oh, yeah.
Mike says they can hear the traffic. So
that's
they can hear the foot
amazing.
traffic
It's kind of hard to get away from it here in Florence. That's great. Excellent. And Pat Silver has put in the information for the workshops that are coming up. So do tune in, check it out, join the mailing list and all that. And that's great. Celia's here, who's another city choir member. Linda Greenman's here. Oh, this is fabulous. No, it's not your phone, Linda. We are here in the dark on our terrace with the Duomo behind us. And I'm going to say it again. This is not a green screen. Yes. How amazing is that?
So we have one little light shining from inside the house, and we're out on the back porch right in front of this beautiful church. Friday night in Florence.
Okay, and speaking of traffic, we're just going to let that go by for a moment.
Ooh. Andre Papalona da Silva. Okay, I thought you should know I wrote one of my midterms on you guys this semester. Oh, that's so awesome.
That's so cool,
Can you
Andre.
please send us what you wrote, Andre? We would love to see what it was all about and what you're sort of interested in, all that sort of stuff. And if there's anything that we can help out, sounds like you may have completed your assignment, which is awesome. We would love to find out. So we last left you on our first day in Venice. So we arrived late Sunday night. Monday, what did we do? We did what good Venetians do, and we did laundry.
Yes.
Because it turns out we didn't have laundry in our place. So we went out.
That seems to be a running theme, actually, with all of the home exchanges or Airbnbs. For whatever reason, nobody has a working washing machine.
That's right. They're all broken or they just don't have them. So
you go to the lavanderia.
So we went to the lavanderia. So we walk over the Rialto Bridge, and everybody's walking over the Rialto Bridge, taking their pictures and doing their selfies. We're walking over with our laundry because, we're native Venetians at this point. And we walked over. We found ourselves a laundry place. And, of course, what do? We go to the canal and we have lunch. And we do that, and I walk back to the lavanderia while I'm waiting for my pizza, go put in the dryer, go take care of all that, and we're looking across the river, and we see this beautiful island, and we look on the map, and it's a cemetery. And as you know, we love the cemeteries. It's a great place to walk.
We do love it.
And so we made a note of that. We decided, because here's the thing, most of the places that we've been on this trip, we have been there before. So Venice, this is our third time together.
Yes, that's right.
My fourth time.
So and Florence, it's our third.
That's our third time
as well.
I think. Now Florence, we're often in and out. We're whipping from one place to another, so we've never spent a lot of time here. But Venice, we've been to a few times, and so we've done the sort of whatever. If you think of it, like you go to a city more than once, you sort of have your. I'd call them A list, B list, C list, but I'm going to think of them as level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. And level 1 is all the stuff that you're supposed to go see. So you go to Venice, you have to go to the Rialto Bridge, you have to go to the San Marco Church, San Marco Square. You have to do a few very specific things. Otherwise, you can't say you've been to Venice. You've been there a couple more times, and then you start doing other things. You do go there 3 or 4 times, and you just find more and more things that are less touristic. And the great thing about Venice, we love to walk, and Venice is a walking city. There are no cars. So it's just gorgeous. And not only that, it's a great walking city, and there's a couple of main arteries where all the tourists are, because they're all going to the same 3 or 4 places that we said you're supposed to go to. Well, it doesn't take very long in Venice to just walk 1 block away, and there's nobody. And you can find these really quiet streets, lots of little dead ends. If you go out not far from where we were, you go into the main piazza and you see it around 4 o'clock, and all the kids have just gotten out of school. So they're all playing soccer in the piazza. I was watching a guy, Suba was having a restorative nap. And, we have to tell this story too. So Suba's having a restorative nap on our first day. This is post-laundry. And I go out for a walk. I see the kids playing in the piazzas. I see a guy cutting down a tree. And now if you see people in Toronto cutting down trees, the truck comes along with a big cherry picker, and he goes up and he cuts the tree. This guy had no truck. This guy had climbed up the tree like a logger or like a hydro guy, had tied himself to the tree, and had a little mini chainsaw about that big. And he went in and he would cut about 3 feet of tree, and then he'd go, hey, I'm dropping it, and then he'd drop it on the ground and make sure that kids weren't around, even though everybody was watching like this. And then he'd move his place where he was tied to the tree down a little bit, chop a little bit more, drop a little bit more, and he basically was cutting down the tree this way.
The old chop and drop.
The old chop and drop. That's right, off the beaten path indeed. And so I found a wine shop. Now, not hard to find a wine shop in Venice, as it turns out, but this place was special because this place just had these gigantic carboys full of wine, and you could buy it by the liter, $2.50 a liter, which is what we like to pay for wine. And so I walk in there thinking I'm going to buy myself some wine by the liter, And the woman says, "Did you bring your bottle?" I said, "Oh, I don't know." I said, "Do you have any?" She says, "Well, I only have 5-liter bottles." And I'm thinking, well, we like our
Yikes.
wine, but 5 liters is a lot to get through. And I see a guy in front of me, and he has one of these, which is sort of a standard
Water
1.5
bottle.
liter water bottle. And he's taken this water bottle, and he's handed it to this woman who has a tap, like what you get your Sprite out of, except for instead of Sprite, it's Prosecco.
Oh
So
my gosh.
he's getting his water bottle filled with Prosecco, and I said, "This sounds like a pretty good idea." So I went to the grocery store, and I bought a couple of groceries for breakfast, and made sure we had some coffee, all the necessities, and then I bought 2 of these full of water. And when Suba woke up, I said, "Suba, you're not going to believe what I found." And this is very exciting news. And
it was
so
exciting news.
we got one of these full of Prosecco, and we got one of these full of red wine, and that's how we enjoyed Venice.
That was pretty amazing. Yeah, very, very civilized. And it actually reminds me of when we were in France some time ago. Not on this particular trip, although we did start and we will end in Paris as well. But we were in Chambéry and a few other places that had a store that's actually called Beer O'Clock. And we've taken to the term, so every once in a while it's like, I think it's beer o'clock, or I think it's wine o'clock. And so this particular story reminded me of beer o'clock, where you could sample, you get a little card that looks like a credit card, and you get to sample a bunch of beers.
A credit card for beer.
Yes.
How awesome is that? And this is why we love Europe. That, and this as well, I think helps. So the next day we're in Venice, and we said, let's go check out the cemetery. And we did. And so we, of course, took a Vaporetto to get there.
Yes.
And the entire island is just this beautiful,
So
beautiful
lovely.
oasis. There's no cars. There's hardly any people. It's quiet. It's serene. It's a gorgeous park. And one of the things we got reminded of when we were looking at the headstones is that a lot of Italians live a long time. There were a lot of 90-year-olds there, and a couple of people.
We saw a few 100-year-olds.
Yeah, we saw
Yeah.
a few people who cracked 100, and
That
we sort of
was
figured,
amazing.
okay, they've got some stuff figured out here.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to take some notes on
Life
this.
lessons. Where is that fountain of youth? What is it? Is it wine? Is it Prosecco? I'm
Is
not
it just
sure.
a living nice?
Is
and
it
a
just
living easy?
easy living? Who knows?
Yeah, and so that was one of our main things. And then we also discovered Venice is, even now, during COVID times, it's still pretty busy with tourists. It's not
Yeah.
nearly as bad as it would be. But in certain places it's pretty crowded. And some people will say sometimes the best time to see Venice is when all the tourists are gone. So
Yeah.
a lot of people in Venice, they day trip. They come in for the day, they see the sights, and then they leave. So what we would do is we started working on vampire hours, where we would be out for a while, we would go home sort of late afternoon, then we'd come back out, we'd re-emerge around 6:30, 7 o'clock. And we would go out after everybody is 5
Wow.
liters of wine every day makes for a really long life. Well, maybe I should have gotten the big one.
Amazing. Joyce, we're just reading. My Italian grandmother lived till 104. Wow. Long, beautiful life. That's amazing. Ah, I love those stories.
That is awesome.
And we kept thinking to ourselves, gosh, imagine what you experience if you've lived 100 years. I can't even imagine. We talked about, 50 years from now, 75 years from now, what will people be talking about?
What major life
What
events,
major life events?
world events will they remember?
Exactly. Global events. Is it climate change? Is it COVID? Is it,
Fall of the Iron Curtain.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's in our lifetime too. Yeah. Anyway, it got us into the deeper thinking about life, and kind of taking the bird's eye view to say, wow, I wonder what people will take away, and I wonder what will hold and what will stick with the people as decades go on and on and on.
Well, and I think one of the things that can really do that is companionship. And so you'll probably remember when we first started this series back in April, it was not too long after we lost the great Bill Withers. And we worked up a little 2-voice arrangement of this particular song. So we're going to give you this one. This one's called Just the Two of Us. 1, 2, 3.
I hear the crystal raindrops fall in the window down the hall, and it becomes the morning dew to make those rainbows in my mind when I think of you sometimes, and I want to spend some time with you. Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. Just the two of us. Just the two of us. Building our castles in the sky. Just the two of us. You and I.
We look for love, no time for tears. Wasted water's all that is, and it don't make no flowers grow. Good things might come to those who wait, but not for those who wait too late. We gotta go for all we know.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. Just the two of us. Just the two of us. Building our castles in the sky. Just the two of us. You and I. I hear the crystal raindrops fall, and the beauty of it all is when the sun comes shining through.
And darling, when the morning comes and I see the morning sun, I wanna be the one with you.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
Just the two of us. Building our castles up on high. Just the two of us. You and I. Just the two of us. We can make it just the two of us. Let's get together, baby. Just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
We can make it just the two of us. Yeah, you and I. Just the two of us. We can make it.
We can make it if we try.
We can.
We've done it well so far.
That's right.
All right, so we last... Oh, something we should tell you. If you go to Venice, like we said, if you go to Venice, the best thing you can do in Venice is just get lost.
Yes.
The entire place is gorgeous. The entire place is a postcard. So what happens is you walk along a little thing, you go around a little corner, and then you find a dead end. And then you go backwards and you find another little corner, and it takes you to a canal, but it basically just has a couple of steps straight into the canal. So if you want to walk straight in, great, you could do that.
Those are the moments when we walk and we go, whoa,
Whoa!
whoa. Yeah.
And then you walk around this little corner, you think there's going to be nothing, and then there's just giant piazza with a beautiful church. So anywhere you go. Now, the other thing about it, I love this. Don't bother using Google Maps. You can try, but Google Maps hasn't quite figured out Venice yet.
They often position us directly in the water.
That's right.
So it's like, oh, where am I?
So we've tried to use, because if you want to go here, and the restaurant you want to go to is here, the actual way you need to go there is around this thing, around this sort of corner, back to this down, sort of do a loop-de-loop, go follow the canal, go over this bridge, go over that bridge, go over that bridge. So it says, 100 meters on Google, but it's actually about 500 meters. We kept on getting lost trying to get back to our place because it was literally, we had to do a U-turn around another building. in order to find out where we lived. It was quite fascinating. Do we have any other interesting stories of places that we went to? Oh, if you want to check out a really nice part of Venice, check out an area called Cannaregio. Cannaregio
yes.
is not a touristic area. It's lovely, but there's there's no San Marco, there's none of the big fancy things. It was kind of a working class neighborhood back in the day, and it still is more of a real life kind of area. It's not far from the railway station, and we stayed there a few times. We ended up staying somewhere different this time in San Polo, which is a busier area close to the Rialto Bridge. But if you go up to Cannaregio, you can just walk, and nobody's going to bug you, and there's no tourists, and it's great. There's also some really nice restaurants there. Apparently, it's a bit of a sport in Venice to make crappy, overpriced food for tourists. So you have to sort of have a bit of an eagle eye for places that look like, well, take a look and see if you see a lot of people speaking Italian who are eating there. And it tells you that maybe this is a place where the locals are going, and you might have a better time getting some good food there. We had some amazing food while we were there. Any other stories that we have to tell from Venice?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment.
I think we should just jump into another tune, yeah?
Okay, before we hit Florence, what are we going to
We're going to go to Rome.
Ah, okay.
We didn't go to Rome on this trip, but we've been, again, a few times, and we stayed there for almost a month with another home exchange a long time ago. And, but we thought, so much of what we do when we're on the road is to try and live like the locals, be like the locals, experience life like the locals, which is why we choose to stay away from hotel rooms whenever possible, so that we can, take public transportation, meet people, cook our own food, and just experience the culture on a very grassroots level.
And just watch moments.
Yes.
Watch the kids playing as they get out of school. Watch somebody just sort of coming home from work or something like that. It's really quite lovely to see those little moments.
Exactly.
Got it right here if you want to see this, Suba.
All right.
When we chose this song because, of course, we're trying to keep a little bit of an Italian theme going. But this was something that we did at the Sing Festival in 2020. This was the first festival we did online. We had planned this wonderful Vegas extravaganza show. It's going to be this fantastic live thing, and then we had to do it virtually. We managed to do it anyway, and this song featured the one and only Mika Barnes, who put out a fantastic album. This is one of the songs that he did on this album. This is a classic. My strongest recollection of this is Mika's version, but also there's a great version by Tony Bennett and Bill Evans.
Oh, so good.
And it's just fantastic.
This is the tune called When in Rome. You do as the Romans do. And so we feel like everywhere we go in the world, we try and be somehow, channel who those people are, how they live, imbibe the culture.
Okay, I've never sung this before. Suba's never sung the bass part for this. We worked this out about half an hour before the show.
Yes.
So we're going to hope that I can see the words.
About 10 minutes before the show,
that's
actually.
Right. Okay. So we're going to cross our fingers and hope you can check this out here. Celia is saying, we can hear music in the background. Oh, that's probably the buskers.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So we just have to be louder than the buskers.
Oh, yeah. I hear the saxophone or the MIDI accordion dude.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, we'll talk about the MIDI accordion dude in just a moment. All right.
I hear it too, yes.
This one's called When in Rome. Maybe we should get closer.
Exactly. I probably will for the bass anyway. All right. Two. Oh, 1, 2, 3.
When in Spain, for reasons I don't explain, I remain enjoying a brew. Don't deplore my fondness for Fundador. You know how a Fundador can lead to a few. And baby, when in Rome, I do as the Romans do. Oh, if perchance I'm saying farewell to France, and romance drops in from the blue. Cher amour, I beg of you, please endure my taking a brief detour with somebody new. It's just that when in Rome I do as the Romans do. And though from Italy I lie to you prettily, why think of me bitterly? You know that I'm true, except now and then in Rome I get that old yen in Rome. And naturally when in Rome I do as the Romans do. If I write happily, best of wishes from Napoli. Don't cable me snappily to say that we're through. But now and then in Rome, in somebody's den in Rome, while pussycat when in Rome I do as the Romans, disregard the signs of the omen. When in Rome I do as the Romans do, as the Romans do. I do as the Romans do. I do as the Romans do.
When in Rome. Inspired by the lovely Mika Barnes.
Oh, Celia says, "Oh, I can hear why this is." Yeah, check out the version of Tony Bennett and Bill Evans. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Yeah, great tune, great lyrics as well. Yeah, super fun tune. What were we just talking about?
We had more or less left everybody in Venice.
We left you in Venice.
And in Venice, when in Venice, we did as Venetians do. So we decided, again, to sort of avoid all the the number one list tourist places, and we went to a couple of other little places. So where do we start? We went to Giudecca,
Right.
and we went to that little island where where there was this wonderful exhibition. So there was an island, San Maggiore, right?
Yes.
Or San Giovanni Maggiore.
Right.
We looked at this. This is what you do when you go traveling. Look up city you're in off the beaten path and just start doing some web searches. And you will find all these really cool things, often written by locals, that are just different ways of looking at stuff. And so one of the things that they suggested was, if you want to go see what San Marco looks like, this big St. Mark's Square and the cathedral and stuff, from a distance, go to this little island just off the side. Take a vaporetto there and go check it out. So we decided to do that. There's hardly anybody there. You can have a beautiful view of the skyline of Venice. And when we were there, it made us feel like we were on Toronto Island, where you're so close to the city, but just so far, and you get a wonderful vista. And when we went in there, this is something we love when this happens. We stumbled on this wonderful exhibit, and it was an international exhibit. It involved some artisans from Holland, some artisans from, I think it was Colombia, and from Morocco. And what they were doing was they had a whole beautiful exhibition of old 17th to 19th century carpets and tapestries. They were talking about the nomadic lifestyle of the people of North Africa and giving descriptions of that. Juxtaposing that with the it was, I don't remember the actual name for it, but they were talking about meeting places. And in the center of this monastery, they had built this wonderful dome, like a giant yurt, made out of bamboo. And the bamboo was made by the Colombian artisans who knew how to work the stuff. And then it was woven by a women's cooperative, all in beautiful wool on the inside. It was designed as this gathering place. So they had this great exhibition, all free. Walked in, saw this great thing inside the monastery, walked around the monastery, walked to a little area called Giudecca, where, of course, nothing's happening. It's just a nice, quiet place. And we had lunch the way we normally do, which is we went into the local store, we bought a baguette, we bought some cheese, I bought some meat, some olives, and found ourselves a nice park and just watched the boaters and had a great afternoon doing that. That was, I think, our last day in Venice.
Right. And the reminder from Celia is that we were talking about the accordion guy behind us.
The accordion guy. So, of course, there's buskers here in...
He's in a piazza down the way.
He's in
actually, quite a little ways from here, but the sound really, really carries with so much stone everywhere.
And he's amplified.
Yes,
and
that
so,
too.
So we're watching this guy, and he's really, really good, and it's the whole thing sounds like an orchestra. Now, great accordion players, they're doing accompaniment with the left hand, and they're doing stuff with the right hand. Here's the thing. This is not the regular keyed accordion that looks like a piano. This is called a button accordion. If you've seen one of these things, it just looks like a row of buttons, and they go ba 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 ba, and it's rows of, I think, 4 buttons that go up in chromaticism. So in order to play these melodies, you just have to really rethink how your brain works. We're listening to this guy. He's fantastic. And then we hear something that sounds like a clarinet joining in. We're like, well, that sounds like a clarinet. It doesn't sound like an accordion to me. And then we realize that we're hearing bass lines, electric bass lines coming out of the left hand. And so I walked up to the guy as I gave him some money and I said, "Con MIDI?" And he said, "Si." And MIDI, of course, is keyboard, electronic keyboard language. It's a way of keyboards to be able to talk to each other. So he had basically an electronic accordion that had regular accordion stuff, but it also had samples of things, including electric guitars, built into this accordion. It was just fantastic to watch how he was working. And he was really, really good. Ooh, button accordion.
Wow,
yeah,
Rob, yeah.
It's got to be, I feel like playing the button accordion just has to be a different way of...
I think so too. It's like your brain has to be kind of screwed on a little bit differently, or you just have to think in a very different way.
And I think, though, if you were a guitar player, and I've got to try this, because guitar players are used to thinking 4 fingers at a time and then switching strings. And I think playing 4 notes and then switching rows would probably be something comparable.
Right.
So that took us to Venice, and then we took a morning train to get from Venice to Florence. And when you take the high-speed train, it only takes a couple of hours. I think it's 2.5 hours, less than that.
Not even. Yeah, basically just over 2 hours. And and then an 11-minute walk, 11 minutes or so, walk to from Santa Maria Novella, from the train station in Florence, to this beautiful Airbnb. And we're so happy to be here, and it's the atmosphere, the background is just so beautiful. I have to say it again. This is not a green screen.
Not a green screen.
Not a green screen.
We can't tell you how excited we are about this. Yes, the Italian train system is fantastic. Alistair was asking if we were going to go to the Uffizi. We have been to the Uffizi. It is fantastic. We decided, interestingly enough, we have been in almost no buildings on this entire trip. And part of that, I think, is a COVID thing. It's just, it's less enjoyable when you've got to stay masked the whole time, when you're sort of being wary of people. And because the weather's been pretty good here, mostly high teens during the day, and so far no real serious rain. We had a couple little drops here and there. So we've just been walking. And so we went up to the Piazzale Michelangelo today, which is a great place to watch the sunset. We went up...
Best place to look at the city. It's just an amazing panoramic view of all of Florence, essentially. We also walked the Forte di Belvedere, and that was a nice, good hike, and good heights as well.
And a beautiful medieval church, which is even higher than the Piazzale, which also gives really great views. And if you love old medieval churches, and we do, then it's a great thing to check out. We also, and this is another tip for everybody, sometimes what we do when we go to a city the first time is we take one of their free walking tours.
Ah, yes.
Free is really pay what you can, kind of like FreePlay Fridays at 4. So,
Waka, waka.
whoa, yeah. So you have the opportunity to take these tours. They're often very informative, and it's fantastic, especially if you want to sort of get the lay of the land of a city with somebody who can tell you some things. Because after a while, if you've been reading too many travel books and you've done as much traveling as we have done, you will just get completely
Just
burned
burned
out.
out,
Trying
yeah.
to remember all the stuff in this church and that place and walk here and walk there. It's like, I can't remember any of this. So you go take one of these free tours, you get a little slice of information that you wouldn't normally get, and then you feel like you know the city for the next day that you're going to go. Joyce is asking if we're continuing to other places in Italy, and it's about time. We're actually at 11 o'clock already.
Yeah, I
Time
think
is
we'll
going
probably
by.
do one more tune, I think.
Sounds great. So we were going to tell you what's next. We have, this was part 3. We have part 4 coming up next week. That'll be our final episode of this series of Free Play Fridays at 4. And that will be the end of our trip.
And that will be from a very small place called Dolce Acqua, and not too far from Nice in France. And so it's basically our way of getting around back to Paris, where we'll be flying out to go back home to Toronto.
So we sort of did this as a giant circle, starting
Yeah.
in Paris.
That's right.
Over here, up to
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam, over to
Kiel,
Hamburg.
Hamburg.
Kiel and Hamburg, and
Frankfurt.
flying to Italy, and then back up to the northwest of Italy to get ourselves back to Paris.
Yes.
And we're going to Dolce Acqua. Nobody's heard of it. It's this tiny little town with some Rowan stuff in it, but we got another home exchange that we were able to stay in for almost a week, 6 days.
Yes.
And so we're going to go there, and that's going to be a place we've just been saying recently that it's nice to go to a place where you're not supposed to go see things, where you just kind of walk around and you just get to soak up the atmosphere. And that's what our last week is going to be. It'll be a great way to get ourselves back into getting back to Canada, finishing up our trip,
Rejuvenation, yeah.
working on the
Yes.
the immune system. So Suba is just on the tail end of the sort of cold-like thing that she had, and my throat's feeling a little funny today. So we'll see what happens. It seems that I'm just about a week behind Suba
With everything, the stomach flu as well as whatever this weirdness is.
So
but
fingers crossed. We got a little bit of lemon, ginger, and grappa waiting for us after the show.
That's
so
right.
Hopefully that will do us well. We're going to leave you with one more piece. We're going to remind you there is one more episode. Please tell your friends, and that will be it for this touring portion of what we're doing. And
That's
Suba,
right.
what's our last tune going to be?
We could do this one. We could do
Which one do you feel?
this one, or we could do Tu vas fa. Oh, we should do Tu vas fa, actually.
Okay.
For reasons that I won't explain until next time. But there's always method to our various kinds of madness.
Madness.
So,
All right.
Yes.
You're going to start this one the way we should probably start it?
Yes. You might remember this one. So we're channeling a different kind of Italian here. Here we go.
Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom.
I see the young people of today are walking around with their caps on sideways and their pants hanging below their knees. You people should be proud of where you come from. So why do you feel like you have to act like an American?
Tu vas americano, americano, americano. Siéntame que todo va. Tu vuoi vivere alla moda, ma si bevi whisky and soda. Forte sente di sta baru 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 baru. Tu ballo rock and roll. Tu gioca al baseball, ma sorti peccamel. Chi te le dà la portata di mamma. Tu vas americano, americano, americano. Ma sei nato in Italia, siéntame non c'è sta niente for. Oh che napolita, tu vuoi fare America, tu vuoi fare America, tu vuoi fare America,
tu va bene americana. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. What you say? Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more.
What you say?
Oh woman, don't you treat me this way. I'll be back on my feet someday. Don't care if you do, cause understood. You ain't got no money, it just ain't no good. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. What you say? Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more.
Tu vai falar americano, americano, americano. Senta me que eu vou falar. Tu vai viver na moda, mas se bebe whisky and soda. Protegendo de ballo rock and roll. Tu gioca al baseball, ma sorti per camel. Chi te li dà la porsetta di mamma? Allora, tu vai fare americano, americano, americano. Ma se nato in Italia, sientami non c'è sta niente. Ok, Napolita, tu vai fare americano, tu vai fare americano, tu vai fare americano. Hey! Grazie mille.
Grazie mille. Thank you so much for enjoying our show. Thank you for checking it out. We're so glad to see you. This is Suba Shankran.
This is Dylan Bell.
We are called FreePlay. Don't forget to check us out, freeplayduo.com. We will be back next week from beautiful Dolce Acqua.
Ciao, grazie. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Love you.